There's nothing scarier than silence. I'm Jessica Denson, and this is Lights On. Welcome to Lights On. I have an incredible show coming up for you today with retired Lieutenant Colonel and former Green Beret Anthony Aguilar. You probably have heard about him or know him well from his whistleblowing on what he experienced in Gaza. I'm going to play this incredible clip that you may have seen before for you in just a minute of his arrest, along with his fellow veteran friend Josephine Gilbo a few weeks ago. He is joining us for the Remove the Regime rally on 11/22. This poster I have behind me that we are in full swing planning for, and has become one of the most prominent whistleblowers against this administration, in particular on the issue of Gaza, as this non-existent ceasefire, this phony peace deal brokered by an actual domestic terrorist in our country and war criminal in Israel, as it implodes in real time, and Israel does not, as we all knew, abide by the terms of that ceasefire. So we're very, very excited to have Anthony Aguilar on the show today. He's also going to be a big part of this massive event that we are planning in Washington, D.C. on 11/22. If you're new here and you haven't heard about it yet, I'm the founder of the Removal Coalition, and we are planning what is going to be, we hope, a game changer, a narrative conversation changer that has ripples across the entire world. We are descending peacefully on Washington, D.C. on 11/22 with an explicit demand that this lawless administration has to go, beginning with the impeachment, conviction, and removal of Donald J. Trump. It is not acceptable to go along as though we can just play a long game and see how we can maybe get out of this in the future. We have to demand action now from our elected leaders who take an oath, just like these brave veterans, to uphold the Constitution, not just on days when they have the votes or when they're in the majority, but every single day. And every single one of them, each and every day that they do not act to impeach and remove or even just speak about it, make this the conversation, they are dishonoring their oath, because we obviously have a man in office, an entire administration in office, that are trying to destroy our democracy and are actual enemies of the state. So silence, as I said, there's nothing more scary than that. On a day like today, Halloween, we have real horrors in this world that we need to confront, and we confront them by speaking out, by being bold, by being brave. The more of us do this in unison, the less frightening it becomes. And that is what 11/22 is all about. That's what the motto for this show has always been about. I made it stand out back in November when I went off on my own and left the network that I was on to be able to cover stories that they didn't want to platform, because I realized, just like Timothy Snyder says in the book On Tyranny, which is where I got that motto from, we have to take the lead. We have to be willing to stand out. Yes, it's uncomfortable at first, but once we start doing it, others follow. And this is particularly, we really need to understand how this applies to the conversation around impeachment. This is the constitutional means to get Donald Trump removed from office. And these lawmakers on both sides of the aisle, in particular the Democrats right now, have enjoyed a ridiculous amount of cover by the American public accepting this false premise that they cannot act or do anything until the midterms. I mean, if we even get to midterms that are legitimate and that give us an electoral path out of this mess. They have gotten the public largely to buy in to this notion that they have nothing that they can do. And that is just nonsense. We are going on 11/22, and in the days leading up, beginning on the 20th of November, when we have a sustained, organized lobbying of Congress, marching to the offices of Congress as we did back in September, led by Representative Al Green. We are going to lobby those members of Congress for impeachment and stop letting them get off the hook. Stop letting them think that 7 million people can show up on a Saturday protesting this regime and that it doesn't mean anything. There are demands explicitly tied to what we are saying and what we stand for, and they must act on our demands. So before we bring Anthony in, and just before I play this clip of his arrest in the Senate, which I can't get enough of this because the bravery and just the calling out of the complicity of our government in the atrocities that it has enabled, in particular in Gaza, is so important. And it is unthinkable what this country, under frankly Democratic and Republican leadership, has enabled. But of course, now at the worst with Donald Trump and his alliance with his fascist war criminal friend in Israel. So as I said, let me give you an update on the schedule for 11/22. A lot of people have been asking us, can you give us more details? And this week, we're able to release the preliminary schedule, which is now up on the website at removetheregime.com. If you haven't already, please head over to removetheregime.com. It is right up there, and we're going to start on Thursday morning, as I mentioned, with a rally at Flair, where Congressman Al Green, as he did back in September, in this epic event where we brought the largest crowd ever into the halls of Congress peacefully to lobby impeachment. He's going to join us again on the 20th, and we are going to start that rally from Flair at 10 a.m., and then march over to Congress with Representative Al Green, where experienced guides will lead us into the halls of Congress to do this in-person lobbying. Believe me, my friends, they respond to pressure. The only reason we have not gotten them to move on impeachment and removal is because this conversation has not been elevated enough. They have not seen sufficient pressure and outrage from their constituents, and we intend to change that with Remove the Regime in DC. So that's the main event that we have on Thursday. It's a very, very important one. So if you're planning to be with us for these days, I would highly, highly encourage you to start off your trip so you can be with us on Thursday morning. There will be other events. We will announce them later in the day. Also, there's going to be an all-day long opportunity to interact with Removal Coalition partners and candidates that are pro-impeachment at Flair. On Friday, we are having a veterans rally that is going to start at 2 p.m. from Flair. So many incredible partners of this coalition, including Sons of Liberty, Remember Your Oath, which is Jolly Good Ginger's organization, so many veteran candidates, many whistleblowers like Lieutenant Colonel Aguilar that is joining us today. They will all be tying in the need for impeachment and removal consistent with the oath and sacrifice they have taken. It is going to be a very powerful event and messaging directly from our veterans. And again, on Friday, there will be other events that we're going to build out that we just can't announce officially right now. And then Saturday, we have our main event where we expect masses. Really, friends, I think we're really going to outdo ourselves with this one. We expect masses and masses of people to join us on Saturday, November 22nd in the nation's capital. The location will be announced shortly. This will be starting at noon with speeches from our headlining speakers and performances by the Dropkick Murphys, which we are so thrilled about, as well as Earth to Eve, who will be performing a number of her political songs that have become very popular. We are so thrilled and excited about this lineup. After this rally, on this main rally at noon on the 22nd, we will march. And the details about that march will also be released later or on the day. We will march at the seat of power peacefully but unmistakably through the streets of Washington, D.C. to show that we the people mean business. We are reclaiming our power. This power does not come without consequence or demand. It means that elected officials must honor their oath and they must start taking action to comply with the Constitution, because right now they frankly are not. So we are really, really excited. I want to thank everybody so much for the support that you've given us so far. I have just been so humbled and inspired by all of the people who have amplified 11/22, all of the content creators, all of the veterans, all of people all across the spectrum, Dino Badala and John Fugelsang and Sons of Liberty, who had me and Cliff Cash on their programs this week to talk about it. I hope many, many more media platforms and organizations and anchors get in on promoting this event on 11/22. We really are doing this to actually make a change. We are not doing this to have fun, although we will have fun. We are doing this because we mean business. And so I implore anyone with a media platform to also platform and publicize our efforts. And that includes the mainstream ones that usually do not cover us. This is your moment where people are going to know and look back and see whether you were silent, that dangerous silence when it mattered, or whether you were helping the movement to actually remove this tyrant who is committing treason from our house. So put the pressure on them too. This is about changing the conversation with our lawmakers. This is about changing the conversation in the media. It's about changing the conversation around the whole world. I'm going to play for you this clip of Anthony and his friend, former U.S. Army intelligence analyst Josephine Guilbeault, getting arrested last month out in a Senate Foreign Affairs Committee. This is what they're doing to veterans who speak up, but it has not stopped either one of them. And I'm so grateful for their voice.
You have an obligation to the Constitution of the United States. I'm a disabled veteran.
There's a genocide! There's a genocide!
You are all complicit in genocide.
Ma'am, you're not allowed to film in here. We told you this earlier. You're complicit in a genocide! You're complicit in a genocide! Eddie, there's a genocide! Eddie, there's a genocide! Come on, Eddie. There's a genocide! You're complicit in genocide of the Palestinian people! You are complicit! Come on, Eddie! Eddie, help us! Eddie, help us save them! Come on, Eddie! The Israeli terrorists are committing a genocide, and the U.S. Congress and Senate are complicit in funding the bombs that are forcing children to be slaughtered and massacred. Shame on this government. The United States of America is complicit in genocide. The Israeli terrorists are starving children.
If they'll arrest veterans, they'll arrest you.
Stop the bombs! Stop the bombs! Stop! Shame on you! You're complicit! This is your legacy! This is your legacy! Why are they arresting you?
They're arresting us for speaking out against genocide.
Stop the bombs!
The U.S.
Stop the
Congress
bombs!
is paying for the
Stop
death of children,
slaughtering babies!
women and children.
Stop slaughtering babies! We are being arrested right now for interrupting a foreign affairs hearing on nominations because the U.S. is complicit in genocide. They are complicit in the slaughter of babies.
When the United States Congress comes after veterans, they will come after you. Every American sitting at home right now needs to realize that you are paying for a genocide. Take this one.
Rise up, America, rise up. It is time to take back this country from these corrupt politicians. It is time. It is beyond time.
We're going out to the loaded dock.
God bless them. God bless them for speaking out and for continuing to speak out. Anthony is going to join us in just a moment. He's just getting back from trick-or-treating with his kids, I believe, and there he is. There he is. He just entered the studio. Let him situate himself there for a minute, and we will bring him right in. Hi, Anthony.
Hi, can y'all hear me?
We can hear you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I'm been looking forward to getting the chance to speak with you, and inviting me onto your show is a great honor. Thank you.
My pleasure. My pleasure, Anthony. We just watched the clip of you and Josephine getting arrested outside of the committee hearing room. Tell us, tell our audience a little bit about your background for those of us who aren't familiar. I know you worked as a security contractor in Gaza for UG Solutions, which was intended to provide aid distribution at the Gaza as part of the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. But your whistleblowing has circled a lot about around what you saw in person when you were in Gaza. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, so after my career in the military and I retired, I did not look for or intend on being a private contractor, as many in the military go on to do. It was not something that I was interested in, but I was interested in doing work that helped people, looking at humanitarian type of work. And at the time, it was an opportunity that was brought to me. I was recruited by UG Solutions, which is the subcontract component of the GHF. And the facts were is that the GHF mechanism to provide aid into Gaza was the only allowable method to go into Gaza. The Israeli government had cut off UN, UNRWA, World Food Program, other entities that were operating with going in and out of Gaza. There were entities operating within Gaza, but they too were limited by what was coming in, which at the time was nothing. So when I was contacted by the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation UG Solutions component to provide humanitarian aid, I didn't do it for the let's go to war experience. I had had enough of war. I had deployed 12 times to combat 4 wars. I've been wounded in war. I've lost close friends and soldiers in war. I had had enough of war. I didn't need the money. I'm fully retired, a full pensioner with VA. I sincerely wanted to go because I felt that I could do something to help, that it was going to be a very complex situation. It was going to be a very complicated operation, and that for my years of experience that I could contribute to feeding starving people in mass. And that's why I went. And I did not go with any preconceived notions about biases necessarily towards Israel, towards the IDF, towards Hamas, towards the situation. My biases were based on facts that there were people that were starving. Human beings need food and water and medicine and baby formula to live, and none of that was going in. To me, the starvation of human beings isn't political. And that's why I went to help. And it came clear to me over time through just logical and rational assessments that what Israel, through the Israeli Defense Force, through the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation as a handmaiden to the genocide, was not only intentional, but it was by design. And it's a design that didn't start then. It is a design that continues. So what I see now in this ceasefire and this 20-point prosperity plan is that it's a further implementation of a politically salvageable genocide. That is what it is.
Yeah, Anthony, I want to kind of, I'm so glad to have you here, because I got to be honest, for so many months and the years that we have been collectively as a world witnessing this genocide, anytime I put up a show during this period of time and do not talk about it, I almost feel guilty, because it's just the silence on this matter, the lack of basic humanity. As you said, like, feeding starving children is not a political issue. Not bombing children and women and men, frankly, who have no complicity in terrorism, is not a political issue. This is basic humanity. And I want to get back to the broken ceasefire and why this is really not any kind of peace plan, as we all know, that could possibly be brokered by 2 men with the worst intentions in the world. But I just want to I want to kind of get deeper into what you saw on the ground in Gaza, what the treatment of the Palestinian people. I mean, even the notion, and you're talking about just going there to try to feed people, but as we were seeing, not just the blockade on so many occasions from Israel of aid flowing in, it was almost every single time I heard it, it just seemed like this ridiculous construct of bombing the hell out of people on one end and then feeding them on the other. I mean, obviously the bombing had to stop, and it has to stop now. Tell me about what you saw about how the Palestinians were treated.
I want to set as premise to the dropping of bombs and the violence and military action. Right now, as the world watches, Israel does not have to drop a single additional bomb to complete their genocide. The level of famine that has reached a level 5 famine in the enclave of Gaza, if they were to rush aid in scale today, people would still die of starvation because there is no amount of food or nutrition that can bring them back from their bodies already breaking down and dying. There comes a point where once the body has reached a certain level of starvation, there's no turning back. Disease, rampant and uncontrolled disease, rabies, hepatitis A, polio, dysentery, and trinovirus. These things are taking root, and there's nothing that can stop it. And Israel knows that. It was already part of the plan. If Israel were to stop dropping bombs today and salvage a political reputation of, look, we're stopping the bombing, the poison pill has already been administered. And the international community is going to have to step in and scale, and is going to have to take over, or every Palestinian will die. And that's a fact. So where we stand now with this ceasefire, if we look at the language of the ceasefire itself, when it was first brokered, it was a 72-hour ceasefire. Remember, Israel did not agree to it. Israel did not sign on to the full implementation of the Donald Trump 20-point peace and prosperity plan. That is still in negotiation. The only thing that was agreed to was a 72-hour ceasefire and exchange of hostages. One side exchanged hostages, one side partially did. We know that there's consternation back and forth between dead hostages or other hostages, but Israel still maintains Palestinian hostages that they have not returned either. So we're in a position right now to where one side was forced into a bargain that they had no agency in, that they had no negotiation space in, that was forced upon them, much like the treaties of the United States and the Native American tribes during Manifest Destiny. When you have a treaty that is forced upon another group that have no agency and have no representation, it's not a treaty. It only leads to more violence. That was intentional. Now, did Donald Trump or Jared Kushner or Marco Rubio know that that was it is going in? I don't know, because it's hard to tell, because
these are also people who have vast investment interests in that property, in that span of land. They have openly talked about developing the Gaza Strip into a condo resort. I mean, for God's sake, these people cannot be trusted.
Marco Rubio is not a diplomat. He has no diplomatic experience. He has no deep, rich history in diplomacy. 1 year ago, Donald Trump was calling him Little Marco, and now he's his Secretary of State. He is not a Secretary of State. He is a puppet. Jared Kushner is a land developer. These are who we sent to negotiate and broker a ceasefire negotiation that could possibly, if wrong, could end in a regional war. This is who we sent to the negotiation. It's a joke. It wasn't a ceasefire, nor was it ever intended to be. What it was a propaganda, a kabuki theater, if you will, set up by Israel, fed through the American administration to publicize, to put an American stamp of approval on it, only to lead to more death and more destruction, and to take away any leverage that Hamas had in this negotiation. And now Hamas is left with no leverage, and the bombing will continue, and the famine will continue, and the excuses to continue the bombardment and the destruction of neighborhoods and killing of civilians will continue. We're at a point where if the international community because the United States has demonstrated that it is not responsible enough to step in and do it on its own. The international community, yes, Turkey, yes, Qatar, yes, Jordan, yes, Saudi Arabia, India, Pakistan, are going to have to make a stand and demand action because the United States is compromised and our leaders cannot.
Well, Anthony, I want to talk to you a lot more about how compromised our nation is, not just on the issue of Gaza, but obviously on the entire issue of democracy. We have no legitimate functioning leadership in this country right now. We have corrupt domestic terrorists, frankly, running the show. But just to finish on this subject of Gaza, you talked about the hostages, and one thing that I always talk about when I talk about Israel and Gaza is that I believe, first of all, that Netanyahu works in coalition with Hamas and has been for many, many years. He proved by, if nothing else, the millions of dollars in cash that were handed over to them to undermine the Palestinian Authority. The fact that female IDF soldiers were warning Netanyahu and his administration about the threat at the Gaza border leading up to October 7th, and they did nothing about it. The fact that there were so many ceasefire opportunities beginning under Biden's administration, and I put as much, I think he bears as much responsibility for not holding Israel to account as anyone, because the money really controlled everything, and he didn't use that leverage that we had. But there were so many previous ceasefire opportunities that Israel imploded time and time again to release their own hostages. Nobody was a worse enemy to the hostages of Israel than the Israeli government. They are responsible for the ones that perished. They are responsible for the ones that were shot point blank as they came out with a white flag, having escaped captivity in Gaza. It's so sickening. And then you talk about the hostages on the Palestinian side who don't get nearly enough coverage, because we're not just Israeli hostages, as you mentioned. There are hostages in Israeli prisons, Palestinians who have been arrested.
16-year-old American citizen children in Israeli captivity,
held without charges. Accusations. Israel loves to talk about sexual assault by Hamas, which I don't doubt for a second. There are many accusations of sexual assault and brutality within these Israeli prisons against women and children, many of whom have never even had charges brought against them. I mean, let's just talk for a minute about the Palestinian hostages.
Yeah, there are many Palestinian hostages that have been kept in Israeli prisons in the Negev desert, in the same prison where the Samud flotilla was kept when they were illegally detained on international waters and put into the same prison. It's a gulag. It's a political prison. It's where people go to die. And Israel uses hostages as leverage in the same way they accuse Hamas. Rather, I would think that if I were given a choice, I would rather be held as a hostage by Hamas, because they're doing so for survival as a means of political leverage. Israel does it because there is hate and there's visceral hatred to take over the entire region. And they see hostages as mere means of pawns for to kill or to leave alive. They have no reason to negotiate. They do it as a means to further eradicate human beings. And it's dangerous. And we know this. It sickens me that in Florida, where Marco Rubio once came from before he became the Secretary of State, that the young child, the 16-year-old boy that is held in the Israeli prison in the Negev, who is now dying of scabies. His body is so covered in scabies that he cannot even wear clothes because it will dry and rip the skin from him.
What's his name? Do you know, Anthony?
I have to look it up because there's so many different captives, and I don't want to make a mistake.
Sure.
But he is when I was recently in the Capitol speaking with representatives from Florida, his district had folks that went with us. They're called Partners for Palestine with us, and they were specifically pleading with their congressional representative. The problem, I wouldn't say the problem. The sad part is that the young boy has a Muslim sounding name. Unfortunately, in this country, if you've got too many vowels in your name, you're not really American. You could have been born here. I had a group of people, a group of very far pro-Israeli that I spoke to that accused me of being not American. I was born here. My parents were born here. My grandparents were born here. My great-grandparents lived in Texas before Texas was part of the United States, in the same house, in the same piece of land for the last 200 plus years. And they said that I was an American because my name is Hispanic. And I'm like, really? This is what we've come to?
The ignorance.
It's gross.
Yes. Yeah, it's fascism. I mean, this is why I don't think the comparisons to 1930s Germany are over the top, because there's too many parallels in the demonization, the dehumanization, the oppression of political opposition, the xenophobia. I mean, these people today are using the exact same tactics that were used in Weimar Germany in the lead up to the Holocaust. I mean, the same exact tactics.
The young boy's name is Mohammed Ibrahim. He was detained by Israeli forces in the West Bank when he was 15. He's still in detention. And the update that I received from his family, his family that still lives in Florida, when I went to Congress to speak with his congressional representative, is that he's on the threshold of death. His like I said, his scabies have taken over his entire body to the point where he can't even wear clothes. He can't hold down food. And this is an American citizen. He's not an American who lived in America on an American visa that's really from Israel or from there, that went back and was here on a visa. He is an American citizen, not DACA, not questionable immigration. He is an American citizen, and he is being held by Israel, and he is being tortured and starved. What justification is there for that? For all of these people out there that say Hamas, Hamas, Hamas. This young child wasn't in Hamas. He wasn't even in Gaza.
Has the IDF or Israel given any pretense of a reason for holding him in detention or arresting him?
He is being held awaiting prosecution.
Yeah, this is the case for countless. This is the problem, Anthony. This is the case.
Yeah.
This is fundamental lack of judicial process.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We as the United States would not tolerate it anywhere else. Imagine, if you will, if an American citizen was being held without due process for over a year and being maltreated in Venezuela. We would have bombed them off the map by now. We do it anyway. Imagine if they were being held in North Korea, a 16-year-old child being held without due process, who's starving to death and being killed. We would go to war. Anywhere else in the country, anywhere else, we would put forth maximum diplomatic effort to include the threat of war. But not for this young child, not because he's not an American, but because it's Israel. And we are compromised, and we bow down to whatever they want, and we do whatever they say under this premise of, we need Israel. And the truth is, we do not. We do not need Israel.
No, I think you cannot separate it, in my mind, from the overall decimation of American democracy. I mean, it's like a poison tree.
Yes.
And what this moment is exposing, and Anthony, I have these conversations so much, is there is so much corruption and complicity across the aisle.
Disgusting.
that I think the Trump administration, and in particular, if we look to the U.S.-Israeli relationship, has exposed. It has exposed it. It has brought all of this filth to the surface. To be, if we are successful and we successfully seize this moment and this opportunity to root out and clean up and replace. But I mean, why do you think, and this is a question I get a lot, why do you think that the US has been so deferential to Israel? What do you think is the real reason for this, and all of the politicians who have just, taken their millions from AIPAC?
Partially, I know a lot personally and by association. I know many, many members of our Congress, senators and representatives. Some are very good. However, having went to school with, grown up with, served with many of them that are there now, it has to do with entitled ignorance. They think, oh, I know better, or I know this and you don't. Right now, there's a congressional representative district out of North Carolina. His name is Pat Harrigan. Took $20,000 in AIPAC money to help his campaign. He's ignorant to what it is and what it means, but he thinks that he knows better because he was in the Army. Well, I'm here to tell you, if you're taking money from AIPAC, you are compromised. If you are taking money from AIPAC and you stand on a position that genocide is acceptable and that we should turn a blind eye to it, you are compromised. I see it as three different categories of being compromised. Some fall in all three. Ethical compromise. They've got something on you. They've got something on some of these folks. There is not a doubt in my mind that they've got something on some of these people that they cannot stand to come to the public. There's this ethical, moral blackmail dirt that they've got. Some people are compromised financially because they know that in their running for their office that they could not have beat their opponent without outspending them, because they don't have a good platform where they ran from. So they took the devil's money and now they're compromised. They have to go along with it because they took the money. Then there are some that are compromised by their own religious ideals. Example, Mike Huckabee, Marco Rubio, others in Congress that are our speaker, Mike Johnson, Christian Zionists. They're compromised in their own
anti-Christian, Christian in name only Zionists.
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, Christian Zionists, to extend their influence and power, they could give less about religion or morality or ethics,
or the actual teachings of Jesus Christ,
or the actual teachings of Jesus. Right. So when you look at these three forms of compromise, some of them fall within all three. I think Mike Johnson is probably financially, ethically, and in his own perceptions compromised. Mike Huckabee, I think Mike Huckabee he has drank the Kool-Aid, true believer, sycophant, horrible human being who doesn't care about the rest of humanity. He only cares about his vision of this Christian Zion land. I don't think he cares about being. He wouldn't need to be blackmailed. He believes it. And then you have some, like, unfortunately, our president. And this is something I want people to start paying attention to very closely. In the recent days, remember, this has been going on for years. And the king, prior to him, the queen, have been absolutely defiant against stripping Andrew of his prince title. That's a big deal. In the last couple days, they did. What's happened in the last couple days is that England, the crown, and the inner court have seen what not only the US had, but other intelligence agencies had in the Epstein files. And now, out of nowhere, without even being asked or demanded, the king has stripped Prince Andrew of his title. His title as prince, has stripped him of all titles and kicked him out of the palace. It's a big deal. They know something, and it ain't good. What does it have on our president or other leaders? I think it is far worse than we thought. It is so bad that not even Donald Trump himself thinks he can survive it. And this is a man who went into the office as a felon, and he doesn't think he can survive what's in these files. We should all be scared, because whatever is in there has compromised our politicians to the point where they're willing, where our country is shut down. Day 24 of a shutdown. Tomorrow, right now, tonight, when I went to Walmart to get candy for trick-or-treating, the line was out the door, not for candy, because SNAP benefits end tomorrow. And if you are on welfare or SNAP or Women, Infant, and Children, WIC, tomorrow those benefits stop. Not because it's in the budget, but because our politicians are stopping it to put pressure on the American people because of this shutdown. Wow. We just sent $3.8 billion to Israel. We are compromised. Our leaders are compromised. Our president, our secretaries, our cabinet, our speaker, our house, they are compromised, and they are willing to put a foreign government that has control over them. They are willing to let Americans starve to death. Let that sink in.
It really is all connected, isn't it, Anthony?
It's
I
all
mean,
connected,
it's all
and
connected.
it's scary. I'm
Yeah.
scared. I have fought war for 25 years under, let's see, Bush 1 and 2, Obama 1 and 2, the Biden years, the first Trump, the first Trump, the Biden years, the second Trump. I have fought in wars, their wars. Right now, for our country and for our freedoms and what is coming, I'm scared. I am legitimately frightened.
Well, what I can tell you, Anthony, is that you are doing the one thing that is going to give us any hope to eradicate this fear and get put an end to these horrors, these real life horrors that are going on, because you are shedding a light on things. You are blowing the whistle. You are going to join us on November 22nd, and I believe you're going to be with us for all 3 days in
I will be.
making your presence known. First of all, before I even talk about that, I just want to acknowledge how much I understand you are putting on the line as a retired lieutenant colonel, as a retired Green Beret, with all of the benefits and everything that comes with being a veteran. How much you are putting on the line, if we didn't already get it from that video of you being arrested outside of that committee. I just want people to understand this does not come without risks and costs. And what Anthony is doing is incredibly brave. And I just want to thank you so much for that.
Well, it's my moral obligation, because of what I witnessed in Gaza being done to the Palestinians, that will come to our land.
Mm-hmm.
That will
Yep.
come here. I don't want my children or your children or other people that are listening, their children or grandchildren, fighting in endless wars. It has no end. And death and war is not romantic. When our Secretary of Defense, now self-proclaimed Secretary of War, talks about war and peace through strength and war fighting, he doesn't know what he's talking about. He hasn't sacrificed and served. Listen to every veteran who has sacrificed and served. What will say, we don't want endless war. It will ruin our country. It's already damn near close to ruining it. Look at our national debt. Look at what we're spending our money on. The President of the United States, who says that China is such a threat in the Pacific, just last week moved the United States and the world's most advanced aircraft carrier to ever be built and sail the 7 seas, moved it from the Pacific, Indo-Pacific area of responsibility into the Caribbean. Why? To have a dick measuring contest with Venezuela. If I were China right now, shit. I would take Taiwan, checkmate, and that would sink us. That would ruin us in the Pacific. Our president is irresponsible. Our Secretary of Defense is irresponsible. The people that advise our president are uneducated, ignorant, inexperienced, and are dangerous. Look at the number of 3-star, 4-star generals. The commanding officer of the Geographic Combatant Command for Southern Command, the entire Global South, stepped down. Wake up, people. People that experienced war, people that know what's coming, are stepping away from this so they can take action as civilians and not military members. It's coming. Look at me. I committed 25 years of my life to fighting war on behalf of this nation, and right now I'm putting it all on the line. I have death threats daily. Every time I travel and I travel somewhere to speak in DC or New York City, notes left in my hotel rooms. Every time I start my truck, I wince, hoping that it's not going to blow up, because I've had that threat left on my vehicle plenty of times too. I have accepted that in speaking out against the tyranny of our government and the evil, vindictive nature of Zionist Israel, that I will probably die doing this. I accept that. If they want to take everything from me, and at the end of the day, I'm living under a bridge and asking for handouts, I'll survive, but I'll have my dignity. I'm telling you, it's coming. It's at our doorstep. If you don't think what we see on the streets of Portland or Chicago or New York City or Detroit or Dallas or Florida or in states across our country isn't exported back to us from what we export to Israel, ICE agents train with the Israeli Defense Force. The the National Guard deployed to Chicago from Illinois train with the IDF.
Wow.
This is a fact. The tyranny that we export is coming back home. And our leaders in our country right now have no problem using force against the American people. And I'll tell you, there's a lot more of us than there are of them. They aren't taking our freedom. We're handing it over.
That's it. That's it, Anthony. We're handing it over. We are handing it over. And that is what my movement is about. That's what this show is about. It's the only reason I keep doing a show. I don't do a show because I had aspirations of being a podcaster. I love my show and I love my audience, but I do it because it is literally us not speaking up and standing up in this very finite moment in history that we have right now to do something that will seal our defeat and erase generations of sacrifices for what we've accomplished in this country, as imperfect as we are. We have such a finite opportunity to confront this. And that's why, if we can turn to 1122, and I'm so grateful that you're going to be joining us and you've been so enthusiastic in wanting to be there with us. That is why we are staging a protest and an event like this. That is why we are saying this is not a 50-state event. This is not something to spread your energy all over the country. There are those, but that's not what 1122 is. We need you in Washington, D.C. We need the collective, peaceful outrage and reclaiming of power of we the people concentrated in one place. And we need to start making our demands clear that this administration has to go. Can you tell me why you want to be with us on 1122? Why are you coming?
First and foremost, in a democratic governing system, in a federal republic, of which we are, dissent is the most patriotic of things. It is the foundation of our country. Right now, Jefferson would be rolling over in his grave to see how we have just allowed it to happen. As I said, it wasn't taken. We've given it up. So for me, 1122 is a great opportunity to come together as Americans, as patriots. Whether you served in uniform or not, we're all patriots that care about our freedom and our liberty. Because if you think that it won't be taken, it will. It will. Little by little, bite by bite, until it's too late. To think that, with one thing that kind of shed light on things is that I was arrested in the Capitol, and I was proud of it because all that I said was, believe it or not, inside that chamber, I didn't cuss or scream or throw chairs or make a mockery. I simply stood up. After the committee chair was done with his formal comments, and he gave the comments over to the witness, which by law is for the people to speak. All I said was, the United States government is complicit in a genocide, and you are not obeying your oath to the Constitution. And I held up a copy of the Constitution. That's all I said. And then I was tackled and dragged out of there. So all I ask is that, why doesn't our government allow people to peacefully protest and exercise their rights because they're afraid. Because the more of us that wake up, the more of us will not tolerate it. And there are far more of us than there are of them. But why 1122 is important is that I hope we bring millions together in outrage over how we are being treated by our government. And what I remind everyone, and I will say this until the day I'm laid into the ground, our government works for us. They work for us. The Capitol, the Longworth, the Dirksen, the Russell building, that's our house.
Cannon, yep.
That is our house. That is the people's house.
Yes.
You can walk in there anytime, any day during operating hours, and you can walk up and down the halls, and you can leave notes and talk to representatives. Be respectful. Be cordial. Don't act like a January 6th rioter. Do it with
which we never do,
dignity.
by the way.
Of course
we've done this, and then of course that's not us. Of course it's not.
Of course it's not. Of course it's not. And like the No Kings riot, those in power wanted to make it sound like it was this evil
Rally,
Antifa underground. No, it's not. Any politician that ever says that the voice of the people is not important or that the people shouldn't protest, you better watch out for that person, because that's a tyrant.
And that's what they said this week. I think it was one of the border czars or something like that made a comment about if people don't want to get shot by pepper balls, they should just not protest. I said, you got something coming for you, buddy. We're the American people. I don't think you know what you're dealing with here.
Protesting is our birthright as a nation. To protest, to petition our
Founded
government.
On protest. Yes.
Those words are even in the Constitution. And to think that it can only be, and there's so many different forms of protest. I have this framed print in my home that I keep. It's framed and it's right next to the Declaration of Independence. That it's of Ruby Bridges when she was the first one to enter that school, and this young girl, in the face of hatred and violence and everything else, was the first to break segregation and go to public school.
Yeah.
That's courage. So I'll gladly stand with the many and look at our government in the face and say, we demand answers, number one. Number two, we demand change. And number three, you, as the elected officials, you were elected on a promise. I'll tell you, for everyone that voted for Donald Trump, you got fooled, because he is not putting America first. He is not putting America's interests first, as we have SNAP funding and active duty military not getting paid. That whole charade about, this private donation, lie, legally can't be accepted. It legally cannot be. So American active duty will go on without getting paid. And the 15th of the month, just the last paycheck now coming onto the end of month paycheck, that money was taken out of Veterans Affairs appropriation to pay active duty, robbing Peter to pay Paul. So when you look at all that, that's not America first. That's not the underdog draining the swamp. He's filling the swamp just with nastier alligators and lying to everybody.
This has been my pitch for years, Anthony, and I don't know how much you know about my background, but I was in the morass. I was brainwashed by Fox for 8 years. I worked for his campaign for a brief stint of 3 months in 2016. By the grace of God, I never voted for the man. But in my awakening, I have tried to wake up people in that state of hypnotism and mental malpractice that so many of them live in, that they are being taken for fools. I've been saying for years, it might be Russia first, might be China first, might be Israel first, Saudi Arabia first. Sure as hell isn't America first. It's at the end of the day, it's Donald Trump first. And a lot of people, and you look at all of the people with so much money that have bought in to enabling this administration. Donald Trump has been such a useful tool for them because the guy has so much liability. Like you said, he's a felon. He came into the White House to escape going to prison. And he's such a useful tool for so many people with corrupt interests. And that's anything but a people's representation. This is...
Well, yes to everything you said. And to be transparent and honest in terms of, why is that he is very charismatic. He says the things that people want to hear. He's not a polished politician. So when he's on stage and he's just letting it rip, the average American connects with that in a way.
And
so
what
I
I've
would
told-
tell everybody that voted for him, because we still live in a society where there was votes, there was an electoral process, there was an electoral college. Is it probably corrupt and needs fixing? Sure it does. But it went through a process. And for everyone that voted for him, realize now you were lied to. Tearing down the East Wing and spending $230 million on a ballroom where we starve. We've been used, lied to, bamboozled, whatever you want to say. And that's okay. But now's the time to wake up. Now's the time to realize, splash that cold water on your face and look at yourself in the mirror and say, I've been fooled. Shame on me. I'm not going to get fooled again.
Self-respect. Have some self-respect. They take so much time trying, and this is written about in the Bible. It says, mark them which cause divisions among you. They are not of our Lord Jesus Christ. They have taken their whole lives in causing divisions among people, in getting them to hate their neighbor. We've taken us full circle back to the conversation about Israel and how they've demonized and dehumanized the Palestinians. This is exactly what they do. They are literally doing the work of the devil to get you to hate your neighbor who is doing nothing to hurt you while they are the ones hurting you. So it's the Antichrist.
My experience, in many wars, but in particular in Afghanistan, my character arc came full circle in that I was there in the very early days when we were still fighting back the Taliban with the Northern Alliance and rebuilding. I was there through the rebuilding of governance days, where we tried every new strategy, from one day training this or training that or doing this or doing that, a new strategy to win the war every year. We fought 21-year wars, not a 20-year war. And I was there in the very end. I was a battalion commander when the 18th Airborne Corps and the 82nd Airborne went in to pull out of Afghanistan, and I saw it full circle. And, I went into Afghanistan as an infantry officer and later on as a Special Forces Detachment commander, going in. Fox News, American flag, hell yeah, American. And I remember I got flown into the northern part of Afghanistan in the Uruzgan, and my mission at that point was village stability operations, or VSO, akin to the strategic hamlets of Vietnam. And we fly in and we link up with this village in the mountains of Afghanistan, farmers and herders, and we show up with our modern equipment and we show up to this village and we're like, we're here to train you to fight the Taliban. And this village elder was like, oh, are you Russian? And we're like, no, we're not Russian. We're America. And they're like, oh, we didn't even know y'all were here. Why are y'all here? And we're like, to beat the Taliban. And they're like, why? What did they do? We're like, 9/11 when they blew up the towers. And they're like, when did that happen? And we're like, come on, don't all Afghans want to kill us? Like, if we don't kill you here, you'll kill us at home? And they're like, we don't even know who you are. Like, why are you here? And we're like, we're going to train you to resist against the Taliban. We don't have a problem with the Taliban. Like, what did they do to us? And we're like, come on, they oppress you. And they're like, not really. And then, so here we are training this village of Afghans who didn't even know Russia had left or not. They were like, I thought the Russians were still here. And we're like, we're going to train you and equip you with weapons and train you to fight the Taliban. And these elders said to us, if you do that, you being here puts us in danger. Don't give us weapons and train us, because then the Taliban will come and
they will target us.
Then they will target us. Like, can't you just leave us alone? Nope, we're not going to leave you alone. And we trained them. And then the very next year, when the U.S. strategy shifted, we're not doing that anymore. We're going to build specialized commando units to then do raids throughout Afghanistan. We're going to get rid of the village stability. We're going to do commando operations. Well, all those villages where we had trained them, not only did the Taliban target them, they killed them all because of us. So when I look back on that and I ask myself, what good did we do? What good did we do? And the reason being was not because of the sacrifice or the willingness of American soldiers. It was because of a horrible strategy under a horrible campaign driven by ignorant, entitled people who don't know what they're doing. And that encapsulates our administration from Biden to Trump to Biden to Trump. It's them. And now they're doing it again. And America's just sitting by saying, well, we should trust them. No, we should not. We should not trust them in the global South. We should not trust them in the Middle East. And we should not trust them in the Pacific, because they will lead us into wars and we will get our ass kicked.
On that note, we are going to show up in DC on 11/22 and start freaking taking our power back. And of course, we mean this peacefully. Of course, that's who we always are.
Oh, yeah.
You know, whenever
we're going to be peaceful, but we're going to be present.
Oh, we are going to be present. Thank you very much. And by the way, if you're going to join us on the 20th for the congressional lobbying, show up, dress for business, you know, dress like you mean business. It's important, the kind of presence that we show. So join us on that day. It is so, so important. Stay with us for all three. Go to removetheregime.com. We have the details there. We'll be updating it with more as we get them. You should have the fundamental resources you need there. And if you want to support us, this is a very expensive endeavor to pull off. You can also do it at removetheregime.com. Anthony, it's been such a pleasure to meet you. I can't wait to meet you in person. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Jessica, for everything you do. You're a warrior. Just because you don't wear a uniform, you're a warrior and you're a patriot and you're fighting for what our country needs right now. And that's the people to come together. So I cannot say enough to anyone out there, show up on 11/22. It's not enough to just post about it. Show up. It's not hard to get to DC. Show up.
Show up. Show up. And Anthony's going to be in, we put out a montage last week featuring the Dropkick Murphys with many other top creators and influencers that are coming. We're going to be churning these out. Anthony's done a clip for us. We also need clips, would love clips from just regular people, American citizens, in your uniform. If you're a veteran, if you want to put on a frog costume and make it, if you're a grandma, whatever you want, to let us know who you are. And maybe you can say what city you're coming from to let us know, you know, how many people are coming from different parts of the country to DC on the 22nd. If you want to make us a 15-second video, and it does have to be short because we have to compile these all together, we would love that. Please send it to removetheregime@proton.me. Removetheregime@proton.me. We're going to be churning out these montages over the next couple of weeks. Such incredible momentum behind this, Anthony. I'm prepared to be blown away. I'm really, really excited.
I think, yeah, this is it's going to be amazing. Yeah. There's going to be, I hope, millions that show up. And I hope this is just the first stone on the path, not the first stone, but another solid footing, another solid stone in the path to taking back our liberty.
No, I'm very clear about my intentions for 11/22. I want us to have a whole different conversation the next day when we wake up. I want to change the conversation around the world. That is my intention. And with your help and everybody's help that is coming in to participate in this, we can accomplish that. So
that's a real goal.
So I've set my sights high.
It's a real goal, and it can be done. And let's do it.
It can be done. It can be done. Thank you so much, Anthony, for joining us. Thank you, everybody, for joining us tonight on Lights On. As always, if you want to support my work directly and my advocacy and continued legal battle against the Trump campaign, you can do that at thejessicadenson.com/donate, thejessicadenson.com/donate. Thank you all so much for that support. Please, if you haven't already, subscribe here to the Jessica Denson YouTube channel. We're almost over 200,000 subscribers. I honestly, frankly, believe that we already are, but there is a content suppression on these platforms. It's on Instagram. I think it's here on YouTube. Not sure I even believe the numbers that we get from some of our very popular shows, but don't let them succeed in that. Please share, subscribe. This is the home for movement. What we are doing here is crucial, and that's why I'm unabashed in plugging the amplification of it as much as I can. Thank you so much for being part of this movement with me. I couldn't do it without you. I love you so much. Have a wonderful weekend, and as always, let your light shine.